Okay, so the next thing that we've got on the agenda is partner updates. And these are sort of just informal updates from partners. We've got a few organizations that signed up to do this, but if you can kind of in your mind think whether or not you also want to come up and if you have any updates about your organization, new staff, or new initiatives that you're interested in trying out, you're welcome to come up as well. I don't see Ben. He's the Ben. Not you, not Ben. This Ben. Sorry, Ben. So he'll start this off. And then we'll go to Alaire, and Christian also has an update from WOV. But if there's any other partners that would like to do an update, we can have a little bit of time for that too. So I'll turn this over to Ben and let him introduce himself.
Sweet, thank you. And I don't know if anyone else just had the same experience of meeting 3 new people that you already knew somehow. But thank you, Sean, for helping me put some names to faces. Okay, I am Ben Rogers. I'm the Intervale Conservation Nursery Manager, and I have probably more than 10 minutes worth of information to go over quick, so I'm going to try to fly through this. But my goal for right now is to give a quick program update of our program and where we're at and where we're headed. Touch briefly on our new online ordering system with a really quick demo, and then I will end with like a 30-second question of how do we plant more Vermont-grown trees in Vermont. All right, so Intervale Center, we're a nonprofit organization in Burlington. Our mission is to strengthen community food systems that sustain farms, land, and people. We have 360 acres that we steward for organic farming, recreation, natural resource conservation. We have a food hub that connects farmers to the greater market. And our farm business services team provides farm business planning to over 130 farms a year. And then our largest program is the Conservation Nursery. And I will touch base on where we're at with seeds, trees, and services, and where we're going. So seeds, we are home to the Riparian Lands Native Seed Partnership. Brooke Fleischman is a statewide seed coordinator and is a part of our team. The purpose of this project is to develop a statewide partnership of organizations that work together to meet the demand for local native tree and shrub seeds for restoration projects that support climate mitigation, water quality, and habitat creation. The position is funded through the Lake Champlain Basin Program, the Great Lakes Fisheries Commission, and the major partners include the Intervale, Northwood Stewardship Center, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and Vermont Fish and Wildlife. They have done incredible work. The past couple years, they've collected over 100 million seeds, and we're looking forward to getting more of that seed out on direct seeding trials with the state and also for growing out at conservation nurseries. So if you are a conservation nursery in Vermont and you are looking for seed, please reach out to Brooke. She has plenty of seed that she can give you for free. All right, trees. We grow native trees and shrubs mostly for riparian purposes, but also for other reforesting, rewilding, landscaping, and food production purposes. All of our trees are grown at the Intervale, which is right there. Those are our production fields right along the banks of the Winooski River. And all of our trees are now grown solely from seeds that were collected through the Riparian Lands Native Seed Partnership. So that means that starting last year and then this year too, the majority of the trees that we're harvesting from our fields have gone through that pipeline where they were identified, verified, and collected by the partnership. It's amazing. Yes, nice work. Thank you. And it really is amazing. In addition to that, we've had a little bit more capacity to experiment with harder to grow species. Historically, dogwoods and willows, which we have propagated solely 100% from cuttings, we're now propagating from seed. And so we have this, this genetic diversity with our willows and dogwoods that we didn't have before because essentially they were all propagated from clones. This year, we're propagating 2/3 of those species from seed, and we're going to keep moving in that direction. Something else that we're actively working on is decreasing our reliance on out-of-state nurseries. How are we doing that? For one, we are increasing our production. You can see from this graph here, even though the amount we bought in from out-of-state nurseries stayed relatively the same, the amount that we were getting out onto project sites increased dramatically. So we are increasing our production to have more inventory available. We're working with our partners, our regional nursery partners, to supply them with seed so that we can collectively meet this goal to decrease our reliance on out-of-state nurseries. And then I've also been able to source trees from nurseries, so thank you to all the regional nurseries that have sent me your availability lists and allowed me to place an order with you. It's been really awesome and great to see all the different varieties you're growing. And then at the Intervale, we're also growing more species than ever before. Historically, we grew around 30 species per year. This year, we're propagating 45 species. And so it's been just really amazing to have the seed partnership's capacity to be able to experiment to grow like really hard species like nannyberry, which we've never had success with in the past. So, it's not new news. We've been hearing for years that we need more trees. We need more trees for all the projects happening in Vermont. We have, as the Intervale has responded, and we have doubled our production. You can see in 2024, when we first had the seed partnership, we doubled the production. We've since then settled around 75,000 stems propagated per year. Last year, we moved about 50,000 stems, and that was incredible because it was an example of, okay, the community said we need more trees, we responded, increased our production, and then you all bought more trees and planted them. This year, we're still pretty undersold. And we can't really pin down exactly what the cause is. So far, we've reserved about 16,000 stems for projects, and we still have 22,000 available. So hit us up. We've got trees, and we want to plant them. I also think it's important to say, Intervale, we are a nonprofit, and our focus is on impact. We're trying to figure out how many trees we can get planted each year. And so I think this is my plea for you all to take advantage of that, take advantage of us being the nonprofit. Let me know what your wish lists are. Let me know what you would love to have in 2028, and I can work with our team and with all of our regional nursery partners to figure out how we can collectively meet that demand. And I mean it, we don't need to have a contract, just say you want this many willows and dogwoods in 4 years, and we'll work to make that happen. Because we can't really, meet that goal without having that sort of lines of communication. All right, I'd be remiss not to mention our amazing services team. Sarah, Kevin, Ben, and Alyssa have done amazing work the past few years. Last year, they planted 16,000 trees. They stewarded over 113 acres in all types of weather. And just a reminder, our crews are for hire. We can plant trees. We steward new plantings. We do invasive species management and other ecosystem restoration work. We now have 4 Vermont certified applicators on our team, experienced with spot spraying, stem injection, cut stump treatment, and foliar spraying applications. If herbicide isn't your thing, we also do mechanical invasive management as well. We stabilize stream banks with live stakes and machines. We now build beaver dam analogs, thanks to TNC for the experience. We remove tree tubes, and of course, we plant trees, and we have a lot of fun doing it. We also do have some limited crew time available for this year, so if you still have projects and you need a crew for them, let us know. All right. Now, before I let you all scan this giant QR code, I'm going to pull. There we go. Thank you. All right. So in the past, we have a new sales software. It's brand new this year. You don't have to order or ask me for an availability sheet anymore. Now, if you want to place an order for trees, you can just go to intervale.org, programs, conservation nursery. Right here is where it would say, hey, reach out to Ben for a copy of the availability list. Instead, you just click order here. It brings you to our new website. I'm not a web designer, so I'm looking for feedback of how this works for you all, please. The way this works is you would either go to bare root trees and shrubs, tube stock and starts, or bioengineering material. I'll start here. The main difference that you're going to notice is what it says here, in stock. I don't know if you can see my cursor. Oh, yeah. So American Elm, we have 231 in stock. That is literally how many we have in stock right now. If someone here were to place an order, that number would go down in real time. So this system is communicating with our back-end inventory system. All inventory is in real time. This is all also formatted the same way our availability sheets used to be formatted, so it's organized by species and by size. You'll notice all of our sizes are the same. We have 1 to 2 foot, 2 to 4 foot, 4 foot plus. You'll also notice that we have our non-regional and regional species or varieties listed here as well. So 2 to 4 foot non-regional, those are trees that were sourced from out of state. But then we also have 1 to 2 foot regional, which were sourced in state. Thank you, Verterra. The other main difference is the pricing looks a little different. So we still have the same pricing, quantity-based pricing as we did last year. The way this site works, it kind of calculates it as a discount. So once you order your stems and add them to your cart, You can see right now, no discount has been engaged, but as soon as you surpass that threshold, now you have a lower price per stem. The other thing I'll mention is it doesn't have to be just with one species. So say you wanted 4 elm and you wanted 1 aronia, you'll see that the discount engages across species. From there, you would hit checkout, and you would place your order here, and it would come over to me on the back end. I would send you a confirmation, but as soon as you pressed confirm order, those trees would be reserved for you. So there's no more guessing whether or not you actually have an order with us. So that's that. I'll be reaching out this year for some more feedback, and we'll be, we're going to be building it out more this year, and I'm excited to hear from you how it works for you. All right, lastly, before I get off, I mentioned we are an organization, that is committed to getting more Vermont-grown trees out across Vermont. We hear that it's between 150 and 200,000 stems that are getting planted by you all each year. And right now, the Intervale, as the largest conservation tree or grade tree nursery in Vermont, we've only sold 16,000 stems. So to me, this is an indicator that there is a breakdown in communication between planters and growers. And so I'm trying to figure out how we can start having more channels of communication so we can figure out how we collectively can meet the demand for the trees that need to get planted in Vermont. So since I have you all in the room, if everyone would mind just scanning your first QR code of the day and doing a very, very quick survey about barriers to planting trees, would be so, so grateful. And I look forward to chatting with you all for the rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. Any questions for Ben before we go on to the next update? Okay. He's going to be here during the day if you need to talk to him about anything. This is one of the roles that I've been trying to play as coordinator of the partnership is figuring this out, what the demand for trees is and what the supply is, and trying to make sure that those match each other. When I first started, it was definitely that there were not enough trees, and now it looks like we've got a bit of a glut. And so we want to make sure that we're supporting the nurseries by ordering trees from them, choosing locally grown stems as much as possible. We want to make sure that they succeed because I'm sure that there's going to be a flux in terms of supply and demand, and so we want to make sure that they're there to meet the demand for trees for conservation. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So I'm Alaire Diamond with Vermont Land Trust, but I'm here actually not to talk about Vermont Land Trust work, but to introduce the Vermont Process-Based Restoration Network, which is going to be a collaborative of all of you and others beyond. Sean is an important member too. And so I'm just going to talk a little bit about what this is. And so Ben just gave a great, just grounding us with all the trees that we're planting along streams in wetlands and along rivers. And we have, many of you know and have been involved with efforts to also look within those streams to look at what needs to be, what restoration practices need to happen within the stream along with what's going along on the riverbanks and the stream banks to really have a healthy watershed addressed in a more comprehensive way. So there's many of us for many years who have been kind of picking away at this idea of process-based restoration, and we are now kind of formalizing that into a network. So I'm just here to introduce it, and it's a really exciting moment. So I'm going to, I'll go through these slides, but I think maybe or these definitions. But I realized I didn't actually put a definition of process-based restoration, so I'm just going to read the one that we've kind of started to develop before I kind of go through more about what the network is. So this definition is one that we've adapted from some other partners around the country who are working on process-based restoration. They define it as a holistic approach to restoring degraded watersheds that aims to reestablish keystone processes such as sediment transport, carbon sequestration, nutrient cycling, and flood and fire resiliency. So considering the functions and needs of the entire watershed, and generally involves the practical piece here, process-based restoration, or PBR, generally involves adding wood and other natural materials to stream and wetland systems, and there's a variety of methods around that. So we have been wanting to kind of build this, and again, many of you have been involved with this. So what is this network? The network is going to be a place where we promote process-based restoration, a variety of approaches, and so those approaches include strategic wood addition, beaver dam analogs, post-assisted log structures, brush packing. There's a variety of different things and different names. There's like a spectrum, they kind of bleed into each other. Those of you who've been out working on projects kind of know that, you know, you're never just doing a beaver dam analog, you're thinking about a lot of other things as well. So promote those different approaches, choosing when to apply which one, that kind of thing, to enhance the capacity of watershed ecosystems to slow, spread, and store water, and provide diverse habitats, which will create flood and climate resiliency. So who's the Process-Based Restoration Network? Hopefully all of you. A diverse collaborative of natural resource professionals with a shared mission to promote and advance process-based restoration in Vermont. There's a lot of work being done in this, much more advanced out west, and we have those partners to learn from. So it's exciting to think about how we can apply the learning and the skills and the techniques to our landscape here. It's a different kind of landscape, different kind of property ownership structure, different issues that we have in Vermont. So it's exciting to think about us like really getting together to understand how to do more PBR here in Vermont. And how will we do this? We're going to collaborate on a variety of different ways. Kind of the three main ideas here are that we're going to be learning and sharing practical skills and techniques. How do you actually build a beaver dam analog? What's the difference between a beaver dam analog and a chop and drop strategic wood addition project? What equipment do you need? That kind of thing. Strengthen a community of practice, and then streamline project processes to lower barriers to implementation. So this is where we think about what is the permitting landscape looking like? What's the funding landscape? How do we get funding to do this? How do we work with our agency, with the regulatory agency partners to just make these projects happen more easily, and just be good projects so we see that more comprehensive watershed restoration. You know, my goal is, I think at Vermont Land Trust we do a lot of riparian plantings, and I'd love to see a process-based restoration work happening within the streams as those plantings are happening too. So we're really looking at kind of multiple aspects of that stream. Okay, we're going to have regular online and in-person meetings and trainings. Really excited to announce and introduce Elijah Schumacher. So can you stand up, Elijah? So some of you may know Elijah. He comes to us at VLT from the Vermont Wetlands Program. He's just recently started a couple weeks ago as our watershed specialist, but his role is going to be to facilitate the network. So we're really excited to just like have his expertise and capacity to be able to like lead the network, and so it's not kind of falling as like extra work for any one of us. So Elijah's going to be facilitating. We have a small steering committee, Sean and I, Shane Jakewith, who couldn't be here today, and then there's, I don't know, 10 or 11 of us total on kind of a design team. So I see Lauren, and I don't know if anyone else on the design team is here today, but really great group of folks who have just been kind of leaders and experts in this work for a long time. Shane, Judd Kratzer, and some others. So we're planning to have sort of a regular, probably a bi-monthly meeting cadence, whether it's online or in-person kind of meetings through the fall, late fall to winter to early spring, and then usually like probably 2 or so trainings or projects that we just work on, visiting sites, kind of field-based work in the summer. And we'll be kicking this off in the spring. So Elijah's just getting his feet under him. We're working on a draft charter, and then we'll just be communicating out to folks. And so I'm really excited about how this is going to be playing out. And I'll just show a couple images. Just for folks who haven't been like doing these kinds of projects, we've got Beaver Dam analog up here on the right. Kyle and Bob working on it. This is a project that we worked on down in Westminster a couple years ago. In the bottom, there's sort of that more like larger scale, like strategic wood addition on a larger stream. So all of these kinds of techniques are process-based restoration. There's a lot of resources available, so the network will be a place where we can kind of surface those, share them with each other, and just like learn from them. So a couple of really great examples here, this Utah State University low-tech process-based restoration guide. A lot of us have been kind of working with this and familiar with this for a long time. That's one great resource. There's the Vermont Strategic Wood Addition Handbook. There's a great new book, new guide that came out from California called the low-tech process-based restoration for upper watersheds. So this is really looking at like those first-order streams and those even like stage 0 kind of areas. So these and other resources are the kinds of things that we'll just be like having talks about, having presentations, people sharing their experiences with, having maybe a library of these things that people can access. So there's a lot of potential here, and it's all like we'll all build it together. And so just want to end on this. What does the future look like for Vermont's watersheds? I think with process-based restoration, we can move from having these streams that many of us know, they're not in the greatest shape, they're incised, they're maybe channelized in ways that we don't want, and we can help kind of jumpstart the evolution of those back into more complex, more heterogeneous systems. And so just some images from a couple different papers that I thought were pretty fun. The one on the right is showing some ideas of like how the larger scale strategic wood addition can change the flow of a headwater or watershed. And then the one on the, sorry, that was the one on the left. My screen is backwards. The one on the right is just like a modified kind of evolution with the addition of like beaver, whether from beavers or from beaver dam analog kind of work to just like really increase the complexity of the watershed, slowing, storing, and spreading water. So I want to just end by inviting you all. Elijah and I are going to be sitting at a table at some point in that 3 to 4 p.m. Time slot. Just invite people to come over. We'll have some slides and some pictures of different kinds of process-based restoration techniques and some ideas. But just invite you to come over and like share your thoughts, share your questions, concerns. If you're interested in joining the PBR network and we might not have your email already, we'd love to get your contact information. So we'll just be kind of having a little session, open office hour, kind of like come and talk to us and share ideas and ask questions, sessions from 3 to 4. Thanks very much.
Any questions for Alaire? Okay, thanks, Alaire. Okay. Yeah, so again, the idea is, we're recognizing the fact that Vermont streams are starved of wood, that as Vermont became developed, that wood was removed from streams during logging operations and for other reasons to make, conduits for moving logs in the lumber era, and for making roads and that sort of thing. So the idea is to rather than wait for all of our trees that we're planting on the landscape right now to become 250 years old and die and fall in the stream, that we're adding the wood now so that we can get those benefits of having wood in streams. We don't have to wait 250 years for that. And that we would incorporate those projects into our riparian buffer projects as well when we can. The next up, we've got Christian, who's going to talk about funding from Watersheds United Vermont.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Christian Pelletier, and I work for Watersheds United Vermont, and I'm here with Lynn. There she is over there. So we are the WUV team. It's just 2 of us, but we'll hopefully be having a 3rd joining our team soon. Today, I'm just going to talk about our Woody Buffer, well, we used to call it the Woody Buffer Block Grant. Now it's the Enhancement Riparian Block Grant. And in previous years, I've given this talk, and we've had kind of a comprehensive suite of different funding sources to plant trees across Vermont. But this year, we just have one source. So in many ways, it makes it a lot more simple on how you can access WUV funds to plant. So our source this year, like I said, the Enhancement Riparian Block Grant is a DEC grant. It's one of the block grant suites that WUV administers. And if you're familiar with WUV grants, they're all under this enhancement framework now, and you'll see the 5 statutorily defined definitions that make a planting or a restoration project qualify for this funding source. So my main messaging for you today is that there's these 5 different categories that your planting would have to hit in order to qualify for our funding, but it's a really, really broad set of categories. So if you have a restoration-based planting that you're looking for funding for, you're likely going to hit one of these categories, whether it's protecting high-quality waters, improving water quality, restoring degraded waters, creating resilient watersheds, or promoting the public's use and enjoyment of waters. So the more of those you hit with a planting, the better, but it's a really broad category that allows a lot of different plantings to fit into our funding. So I put the link here to our website. Hopefully we can share this around so folks can go check out our website to see our application and our guidance material. But my main message today is that we have funds available right now. We get these block grants from DEC for multiple years, and right now we have over $400,000 that can be utilized through the 2030 planting seasons. So kind of dovetailing what Ben was saying, there's a lot of trees available, and we have a really healthy amount of funding right now. So if you have plantings, come to us, and even if our funding won't work for your planting right now, we can point you in the right direction. So definitely get involved and contact Ben or contact us, because there's lots of trees and there's lots of money to do plantings. Our applications are open and rolling right now, so even if you have a planting, we know the nature of plantings, they come together sometimes really fast. So if you have one for spring of this year, you can submit an application and we can turn it around fairly quick to get you an answer if we can fund your planting. And we're also accepting applications for fall plantings as well. If you have plantings coming up for 2027, you can definitely be in contact with us. We usually batch those applications for later in the year, but it's never too early to get a planting on WUV's radar. Quickly just wanted to show our eligibility requirements. The best thing to do if you're interested in like the details on if your planting's eligible outside of those 5 statutorily defined definitions is to go to our website and look at our grant guidelines. But roughly we're looking for buffers that are at least 35 feet in width, that plant over 300 stems per acre or over. And then this is DEC funding, so on the bottom of the slide you'll see some additional requirements, but all these plantings have to be in the Watershed project database. You need to get your river scientist and DEC basin planner approval. So there is a little legwork that needs to go into getting these plantings eligible to utilize our funding, and the earlier you get that started, the better. And a few other things I want to note is we have additional prioritization criteria if you're using Vermont grown stock, so it's great what the Intervale is doing and what our other planting partners are doing. And then we also can fund wider buffers with more tree density. So if your planting organization thinks we should be doing 400 stems per acre and wants to do 50-foot buffers, that's great, and we encourage that. So yeah, the wider you can plant it, the better. So this WUV funding is eligible for statewide plantings, but we are part of the enhancement framework as opposed to the formula funds. So if you are in an area of the state that has access to formula funds and you have a clean water service provider, if your planting is a phosphorus-based planting, you should go to that clean water service provider to get your planting funded. And if you're outside of a basin with access to that, then you definitely qualify to come to WUV, and your planting should come to us. But even if you're inside one of those basins that has access to that funding, you still can get your planting funded by WUV. You just need to kind of check with your formula funder and make sure that it isn't a right fit for that funding first. And that can be because of timing, it can be because of landowner preferences, or it could be because it doesn't hit the correct phosphorus calculations to qualify for your formula funds. All to say is we can help you navigate that conversation, so feel free, even if you're not sure if this has the best fit with WUV or your local clean water service provider, either reach out to them or reach out to WUV and we can guide you through that process. So my main message is reach out if you need us. A great thing that we can also fund as part of these WUV funds is we have what we call enhanced survivorship activities. And that's activities that can enhance your survivorship outside of just the planting. So we can fund some site prep activities at your sites, and then post-planting we can fund weeding and vine removal, and then we can also fund replant activities. To be eligible for enhanced survivorship activities, your planting either needs to be previously funded with these WUV funds, or it needs to be in the Clean Water Project database as a river-type planting. So even if you planted this outside of the WUV universe, but it was funded with DEC funds at some point and is in the Watershed Project database as a river planting project type, you could still be eligible to come access our enhanced survivorship funds. We found that really helpful for groups. They've been going back 1 to 2 years after plantings to trim around trees, to do weeding and vine removal, and then we've also funded quite a few replants on sites with the goal of bringing the plants up to the original stem density and width that they were originally planted at. So that's a great tool. Yeah, and I recommend if you do think you need to do this work at multiple sites across your planting area, kind of bundle those together and create a proposal, and then come talk to WUV, and we definitely have a healthy budget to support that work over the next few years. Wanted to mention some changes. I don't know if any of you have seen the draft QIP funding policy that's been going around. It's not official yet, so these changes won't impact most likely people planting this year, but there's some exciting changes that are going to be happening with the funding policy that will impact WUV's funding. Right now, we don't allow invasive species management as part of our grant funding, and that is going to be eligible, so that's exciting. There's going to be an increased ability to do more enhanced survivorship activities. Right now, it's kind of a narrow definition of just weeding and vine removal, but I think it's going to be opening up to do anything that's included in the O&M for your planting site. And then there's going to be the inclusion of food-producing native woody species in your riparian buffer plantings. So this all has to actually be approved, and the new funding policy has to be rolled out. But some things to keep in mind as you're planning your future plantings, and we'll communicate all these updates when they're official and will be incorporated into our application and our grant guidelines. The one other thing I wanted to mention, which I didn't put in here, is this is all for physically planting your site, but WUV also has project development funds that allow you to develop the plantings that you have for future years, and that could be for your plantings, but also could be for process-based restoration projects like Strategic Wood Addition. And we'll be releasing our next round of that funding shortly, so keep an eye out in the WUV listserv and on our website. We'll have that with applications likely due in late spring, so you can start utilizing that funding right around June 1st. And I highly recommend anyone here interested in doing plantings or doing any restoration-based projects to pursue that project development funding, because it'll help us get more projects in the pipeline to then utilize more trees and get more plantings out there. So that's it. Our emails are on here for Lynn and myself. Reach out if you have any questions. The WUV team is here to help, and we'll be floating around today. So if you have any questions about plantings on your mind, come and see us and we can talk about it. Awesome, thank you.